Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to treat a cyber attack just like a real-world crime scene. We're going to break down the entire anatomy of a digital investigation, from that very first sign of a break-in all the way to the final case review. You know, this quote from long-distance swimmer Diana Nyad, it absolutely nails it. In the high-stakes, high-pressure world of cybersecurity, a major incident isn't just some technical glitch. It's a full-blown crisis. And it demands a response that is swift, decisive, and, yeah, sometimes pretty extreme. So our investigation, it doesn't start in some fancy corporate high-rise. Nope. It begins in a small university computer lab. A student, Osbert, has just built this incredibly powerful, self-replicating worm for a class project. And it's supposed to be tested in a totally secure, totally isolated digital sandbox. Well, he's about to find out the hard way. See, there's a single forgotten network cable. Just one, connecting his secure lab to the main campus network. And that means it's connected to the entire internet. It's such a tiny oversight, but it's about to have some massive consequences. He hits run, and in less than a second, his worm just tears through the entire test lab. But it doesn't stop there. It finds that forgotten cable, escapes, and starts rampaging across the internet. And right there, in that moment, a digital crime scene is created. And that triggers a call to a very special kind of first responder. When a cyber incident like this goes down, a specialized team of digital detectives gets the call. They're known as the Computer Security Incident Response Team, or CSIRT for short. Their job? To get to the scene, investigate, contain the damage, and resolve the whole crisis. And their playbook is what's called an incident response plan. Just think of it like the standard operating procedure for a digital crime scene. It is a systematic, step-by-step process designed to investigate the breach, limit the damage, and get things back to normal as fast and as safely as possible. And this investigation, it follows a really clear, methodical process laid out by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. It starts with just detecting that something is wrong, then it moves to securing the crime scene and cleaning up the mess, and finally, reviewing the whole case to learn from it. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. The first, absolutely critical phase after you spot a breach is containment. This is all about stopping the bleeding, securing that digital perimeter so the intruder can't do any more damage. And the CSR team has a whole toolkit they can use here. It could be something as simple as just monitoring what the intruder is doing to track their movements, all the way to the most extreme option, literally pulling the plug on entire systems to cut off their access completely. Now, this is where things get really interesting, because an investigation can take one of two fundamental approaches. Do you go for protect and forget, where the main goal is just to kick the intruder out as fast as possible and get back to business? Or do you choose the apprehend and prosecute route, where you actually let the attacker stay under observation so you can patiently collect evidence and build a legal case against them? So let's look at a classic case of apprehend and prosecute. I mean, this is one of the most famous investigations in cyber history, and you're not going to believe this. It didn't start with some massive alarm bell, but with a tiny accounting error. 75 cents? And believe it or not, that 75-cent discrepancy completely unraveled an incredible spy story. The investigator, a guy named Clifford Stoll, with help from the FBI and the CIA, patiently stalked this hacker for months. He eventually traced him all the way to West Germany and exposed a whole operation selling U.S. secrets to the KGB, all from 75 cents. Okay, so the scene is now secure. The attacker is contained. What's next? Well, now the investigation moves into its next phase, eradication and recovery. This is all about meticulously, painstakingly cleaning up that digital crime scene. Think of eradication like a deep forensic cleanup. It means finding and getting rid of every single malicious file, every hidden rootkit, and every secret backdoor the attacker might have left behind. The goal here is to make absolutely sure they have no way of getting back in. But the recovery part is just as critical, because if you mismanage that, it can be an absolute catastrophe for a company's reputation. Back in 2000, a company called Egghead.com learned this lesson the hard way after a breach compromised over 3.6 million of its customer accounts. And wow, this is just a masterclass in what not to do. For almost a month, Egghead sent these confusing, contradictory, and flat-out false messages to its customers. First they denied it, then they downplayed it, and only then did they finally admit the awful truth. They completely destroyed all public trust, and it ultimately led to the company's downfall. And the threats these investigative teams are up against? They're constant and they're always evolving. Just look at the data. Over half of all breaches involve some form of hacking, and get this, a quarter of the malware used by attackers is just publicly available online. Anyone can go download it. And the risks aren't always from these super sophisticated targeted attacks. Even something you do every day, like browsing the web, involves potential threats. Things that seem totally harmless, like tracking cookies, can be misused by criminals as a form of spyware to scrape up your personal data for things like identity theft. So, after all the chaos, the investigation is over, the systems are restored, you'd think it's all done, right? Nope. In fact, what might be the most important part of the entire process is just getting started. It's time for the debrief. This is where all the digital detectives and the key stakeholders get together and review the entire case, from start to finish. They analyze what went right, what went wrong, and most importantly, how they can strengthen their defenses to stop the next crime from ever happening. And the key takeaways here, they aren't just for big organizations. This stuff is for everyone. It's about being prepared before an attack happens. It's about understanding that clear, honest communication is every bit as crucial as the technical fix. As one expert famously put it, the rule is simple. Tell it all, tell it early, tell it yourself. You have to take ownership of the situation immediately. And this really brings us to our final thought. A successful investigation isn't just about closing the case or catching the bad guy. The real goal, the ultimate victory, is to come out of that crisis smarter, stronger, and way better prepared for whatever comes next.